Hello everyone, this is day 13. Today we are going to interview Miss Smriti Kedia and we are honored that she is with us. Now I'll tell you a little bit about her. She's at CEO at Sadhana. Sadhana is a woman's handicraft enterprise and we are really glad that we got this opportunity because ma'am is working like really hard for women who are in rural areas. So let me introduce to our chief guest. Hello ma'am. We welcome you here from the
Hello.
DORAI Foundation.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful to be here.
How are you doing, ma'am? How are you doing, ma'am?
We are doing well. How are you all doing?
Ma'am, we are good. So, can we start with the questions, ma'am?
Sure.
Okay, ma'am. So, I would like to ask you, can you tell us more about yourself as a professional, yourself as than a professional woman? Like, being a professional woman is a different thing, and being yourself is. So, can you tell us the difference? I want to know the difference, like you being yourself and you being a professional woman.
Okay. Difference between the two remains little, and both merge so much. So, for instance, ever since I've been with Sadhana, it has it is very difficult to differentiate personal and professional because it takes away so much energy and it is constantly an occupation, you treat it like that. And so that is one. I would say it has always been difficult for me to differentiate because that is how I am. But otherwise, I'm a fun loving person who enjoys traveling, who enjoys food, who enjoys watching movies. On the personal front, I enjoy spending time with my family, and on the professional front, I'm always thinking of numbers, targets, trying to make an impact, ensuring that we are doing the best we can, trying to build new partnerships. So, then I'm totally cut off with all that when I'm in office. So, yeah.
Okay, ma'am. So you just manage it like this only. When you are in personal, you will travel and you'll enjoy the time, but in professional, you will cut off each and everything.
No, I'm saying in personal, that is the kind of person I like to be, but I find it very difficult to separate the two. Especially, we are lucky we are in a place like Udaipur. We are located in Udaipur. So,
Okay, so ma'am,
work
you are
is
from
10 minutes away,
Udaipur.
home is 10 minutes away. You're able to achieve a lot in one day in smaller cities.
Yes, ma'am. I have been in Udaipur for like many years, and my family is like my mamu is in Udaipur, so I used to go there every summer, so I know a lot about Udaipur and handicraft also.
Yeah,
So,
yes.
ma'am,
So we
can you
managed
tell
to
us?
have fun at work.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And handicraft is really good in Udaipur. I have been in whole Udaipur. I have explored the Udaipur from my childhood till now. I'm doing that. Ma'am, can you tell us more about sadhana? Like what exactly sadhana, how it started, and yes.
So, Sadhana is a woman owned social enterprise, handicraft based social enterprise. And Sadhana started in 1988. So, it started as an NGO project under the Women and Child Empowerment Department of Seva Mandir, which is a very reputed NGO. And at that time, the whole idea was to ensure that women are able to get an alternative income because at that time Udaipur had been hit by a severe drought condition, and also migration was rampant, so women were often found to be left behind alone with children in the villages. So that triggered this initiative, and then there were many options that were chosen that women can work on to generate this alternative income from home. So a lot of options were there at that time, right from um, different kinds of handicrafts that could be chosen, to food processing, so many things. But finally, Sadhana settled in for patchwork training
Okay.
women to do patchwork because the initial investment in training in patchwork was very low. So that's how, Sadhana started working on patchwork, looking at home based work, training women. And then it made continuous losses, but still, it didn't lose heart and hope. And then slowly it started making profits, started picking up in terms of design. And in 2004, it separately registered as an independent unit from Seva Mandir, and it registered as a mutual benefit trust. So that is like a cooperative model where all the artisans are owners of this enterprise. And
Okay.
that is how the journey began. And from 2004 until today, we are almost 700 artisans now, 700 women artisans. Most of them are home based artisans. And we have also, started exporting. Our major sales happens in the B2B space. So, yeah, that is sadhana. And it is very interesting because a lot of our artisans, even today, are very senior who have been associated with us since inception. So, they have beautiful stories to share and have seen sadhana come along all these years and grow.
Okay, ma'am. So, like, ma'am, you are being with Sadhana from like 88, 1988 it is, and you are from the starting only. So, can you tell us like how you recruited your first team? Like, this is the like hardest thing when you start something to recruit the first members of a organization. And can you tell us like how difficult it was to get people on the board for Sadhana when you were trying to do it initially? How was your initial things, whatever happened, ma'am?
Okay, so I have not been with sadhana from the beginning. Okay. In 1988, the team that existed then, very few people are there now. Okay, so sadhana had many people who came in and went. And when it started, it was in the NGO mode. So Seva Mandir being a big NGO,
Yes,
under
ma'am.
one of its departments started this as a small project. And back then it started only with 15 women. Okay, so that team eventually left. And then Sadhana made continuous losses, and then it decided that okay, we should give this. So in fact, it came down to a situation where they were planning to shut the project because it was not, the investment was much more in salaries against what we were able to sell. Like it happens with many other enterprises. But that is when they decided to break away from this NGO mode and look at it as a strong business where women are able to continuously get work and even generate profits to take care of the enterprise's expenses. So that breaking away was very crucial. And when that breaking away happened, Leela Vijayvargiya, who was also part of the group then, took charge. So I think she has been the real founder of Sadhana, so to say, because then,
Okay.
she started building the group, of course, with the support of the chief executive from Seva Mandir. And then slowly, Sadhana started building its skills, started taking orders, supplying to international NGOs, getting interns from different schools who can contribute to design. And then slowly, when they realized that sadhana's way of working will have to be very different from the way an NGO works, I think it was really the foresightedness of the administration then that decided to then break away and register it as a separate entity. So ever since that time, Sadhana has seen three CEOs in total. I am the third one now, and the youngest also. And
Okay.
there is a board member. There's a board, and the board is generally responsible for recruiting the CEO, and then the CEO runs the show. And we always have artisan representation at every level. So if you ask me, the one thing that has worked in Sadhana's favor is really investing in the empowerment of its artisans. Because if there is one force that has stayed from 1988 till now, it is the artisans, You will find in Sadhana many artisans who are 30 years old. And they have, contributed in every way to Sadhana, from a one room enterprise to a two production unit enterprise. The way Sadhana has grown, these women have been there. So involving them at every step of decision making and giving them the ownership has really been our strength.
Yes. Like, ma'am, as you mentioned, it was earlier an NGO. So, have you worked when it was an NGO, or you joined after it became the normal organization, like social organization, ma'am?
I have joined now about 1.5 years ago. Okay, but I
Okay,
have
ma'am.
been in the NGO space for the last 15 years. So,
Okay.
NGOs cannot make profits. That is the underlying thing. So, if you are a business enterprise, so, while our goals are all about ensuring that women empowerment is done and women are able to earn an alternative income, we
Yes, ma'am.
also ensure that whatever profits we make at the end of the year are distributed back to the women. So, there is no one owner, there is no one shareholder, so it's very different from a commercial enterprise in that sense. But if you have to run a
Yes, ma'am.
social enterprise where there is a business transaction, you can be registered under
Yes.
different entities. So, for instance, you can either be a producer company or you can be a cooperative, or you'll have to be a for profit private limited. So Sadhana is more like a cooperative registered as a mutual benefit trust.
Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, like if we are in a new generation right now and we want to start an NGO, so I have a little question about NGOs. Like,
Yeah.
if we start an NGO, so in the for profit making world, this is a profit making world. How to keep, like, for a business entity, we check scores of sales, and on behalf of sales, we like we decide that this business is doing good, this business is not doing good. But for NGO, what would you suggest? Like, if we want to start an NGO, so how we should keep our motive? Like, as a business, we keep our motive to increase our sales. So, and then we decide that okay, our business is doing good. But for NGO, what we should keep in mind, if because we know NGOs like have really bad days when we don't have financiers with us, we don't have money, and there are few months when there is no work and NGOs are going down. So, like, for that time, what would you like want to suggest to us?
See, there are two types of NGOs again, if you're counting Sadhana as an NGO. So one NGO that is totally dependent on grants. Okay. And the
Yes,
other
ma'am.
category is like Sadhana, where we are a for profit, but we are able to take care of our own running costs. So Sadhana has become self-sustained, and whatever we sell, we are able to take care of our running costs. So we are not dependent on any grant as of now to run the show. Okay. So if you are talking about the first category of NGOs, which are donor driven, then you really need to invest in a good team that is able to sell your story and get people to donate or invest in you so that you can continue to do the good work that you want to do. Okay, and nowadays that whole scenario is so different. Like today, you need to ensure you have a beautiful LinkedIn profile where people are able to see, the work you are doing. You have to invest not only in the profile of the organization, but also in your individual profile. Like the
Yes.
CEO of the organization should also look great in his or her LinkedIn profile, and the organization should also look good. Then at the same time, you should have very
Yes, ma'am.
strong monitoring, formats. So, for instance, you were asking me in your first question that when it's a business, it is all about sale figures. How do you increase sale? But the same is with us. Like in Sadhana, also, we have to talk about profits, we have to talk about sales. Because if we don't do that, then it just means that we are not able to give our women that much work. So I'm also constantly worried about our numbers. It is no different from a business. The only difference is that my worry for numbers is because the moment I have big numbers, I know that I am able to give my women that much work. So the motive that drives me is ensuring that all 700 women are able to generate an income at the end of every month, and they have enough work to work from home and generate this income.
Yes, ma'am.
So the motives are different, but we are all concerned about numbers and we are all concerned about profits. And if I make a good profit in Sadhana, I'm able to give a bonus to the women at the end, which acts as a huge saving for them. So if any woman who's getting
Yes.
20,000, 10,000 rupees in hand together at the end of the year as a bonus, that goes a long way in ensuring that her children have a saving. for, future education, or that she's able to invest in, something that the family needs. So a lot of
Yes.
women in sadhana have really used their income to educate their children, to build their houses. These are, some of the things that women have all invested in.
Okay. Ma'am, I came to know about one more thing, that is a plus trust. So, like, what plus trust is? I was searching about you and I get to know about it. Can you tell me about
Yeah.
that also?
Yeah, thank you for asking this question. Plus Trust is very close to my heart. Plus Trust is an organization that we started in 2010, and it was in the memory of a dear friend of mine whom we lost eventually in Tata Institute of Social Sciences. So her mother, who was a seasoned consultant in the development sector, her teacher, and me together, we all came together and started this trust. So what we do in Plus Trust is we really want to support the idea of enterprise, but we look at an absolutely different category of entrepreneurs, which is rural women. So when we started in 2010, there were some big organizations offering fellowships. But if you want to get those fellowships, you should have already achieved so much more to, even become applicable for those fellowships. So Plus Trust wanted to look at the gap, and we identified that nobody looks at rural women as entrepreneurs. So
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is where we came in. And we, even today, that is our main program where we offer 6-month fellowships to 1 year long fellowships to rural women who have an idea of change. And they can be, it's like a seed fund, they are the beginners. It can just be an idea that they want to experiment with. And we give them a 6-month fellowship to experiment, fail, succeed, and learn. And I'm very happy to say that a lot of people have started their own enterprises, small scale enterprises in their village, solving a problem within their village through their initiative. So, Plus Trust is that. Yeah.
Okay. So, ma'am, like as you mentioned, you have 700 women under you. So, earlier I was taking an interview of Miss Roshni Chandel, and she was working for women's only. So she told me that initially when she was working, like rural women's were not that much easy to convince. That you can't convince them that much easily for working, and there are many problems you face. So, like, was there any such sort of problems you faced while you were working with those women, and still you are managing 700 women? So what is your experience with
Yeah,
them?
we constantly face such problems, Siddharth. The reason is, women have to see value in the work that they are doing. Okay. So there was a time I mentioned, when we started, we also
Yes.
failed. It came down to a situation where we didn't know
Yes, ma'am.
whether, we'd survive or no. Early 1980s, 88 and 90s, I'm talking about. And that was purely because, women got tired of the work. They were earning more in some other jobs that they were able to do as daily wage labor against,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
work that we were able to give them, the income they were generating through this work. So,
Okay.
these are constant problems. And the fact is that if you want women to continue work and if you want women to be engaged, one is you have to heavily invest in their skilling. Unless they are able to do better skilled and fine job, you will not be able to pay them premium amounts. So investing in their skilling is one. And secondly, you have to ensure there is constant work for them. You cannot tell them that there is work only for 10 days in a month. Baki din aap kuch aur karo. So the moment you tell that, that 10 days will slowly become 7 days, and then the woman is not interested. She won't even work for 2 days. So you have to ensure as an organization that you are able to give them work. And that in the initial days, like, I joined when COVID was there. So in COVID, we were back to the old
Okay.
situation, All the organizations that had survived for so long were back to the beginning, We were back to the same grind where there is no work. You've
Yes.
started losing women. We lost so many artisans to Narega work because that was the only work available at that time locally. So we have had to
Okay.
build everything from scratch again. Today, luckily, we've been able to, our marketing team and, together our whole staff has been able to bring in orders that have kept our artisans occupied, every day, and they're able to generate an income. So unless that scenario exists, it is very difficult to continue women being associated with you. So yes, that is a daily challenge, Siddharth, not just now, but every
Okay,
day.
ma'am.
And that is what keeps us
Yeah,
on
ma'am.
our toes, as people heading the organizations. It gives us sleepless nights that we have to ensure that there is no gap.
Okay. So, ma'am, as you also mentioned right now that when you joined during COVID times, there were setbacks. Obviously, there were because there was nationwide lockdown. So, at those times, how you overcome those things? Like there was no work, and even after lockdown, even after the situations were normal, we all know that there was no work because initially in the initial phase when lockdown was removed, the work was not that frequent. People were like scared of investing again or starting work again because we were not sure about what happens again. So at that scenario, how you overcome all those things?
So there were many steps that we had to take to ensure that we don't collapse during COVID.
Yes, ma'am.
One is, you really need to believe that your artisans have been associated with you for so long that they will stand by you. you know and for that, even if you're not able to give
Yes.
them work immediately, if we had some raw material, we gave them some work, and then we generated some funds like an NGO. We shifted a gear and we started raising funds. We shifted gear from being this social enterprise that is self-sustained, and we went out to people to ask them for help. So we were able to raise a distress fund for each artisan. We were able to give them food kits twice, not once, but twice, that could take care of, their families. We identified women who were in extreme distress. Like there were women who were in extreme distress who lost entire families to COVID. So we had a special fund that we raised for them and, gave them that grant. There were individual donors who contributed to them. So, continuously monitoring the status of women, of all our artisans. And then,
Yes.
we went took a market driven approach. We started making masks, for example. We started making PPE kits. So at least some women were occupied in doing this task. We had the machines to do the stitching, but our handwork women suffered, because handwork was definitely compromised. Handwork is a value addition you do, and it is expensive. So there we saw that, and then we really reached out to some of our very old and loyal buyers. And, we told them of our situation, and they gave us some orders, or they did not cancel the orders, some of the orders that they had placed, but they just deferred them. So we were sure that after the situation improves a little, they will be in a position to take these orders. The other thing that we had to do is we had to do cost cutting. So a lot of our staff went on pay cuts. A lot of people whom we thought were not needed, went on a part-time mode. A lot of We had to shrink our production unit, the size of our production unit, to reduce a rental. So we really had to do a lot of cost-cutting measures at that time. But now we have been able to get back to normal. We have been able to generate orders. We have reached out to a lot of new buyers. We have started looking at online platform as a very serious sales platform, which otherwise existed, but we never invested in it. But now we have a proper team that is looking at our social media, that is looking at photography, so that we can upload products online. For the first time, we went on to many other e-commerce platforms. Otherwise, we always sold only through our website. But now we are selling through Amazon, Karigar, we are selling through Okhai, GoPoop, and many other platforms. So, we had to move ahead with times to manage this crisis. And I'm happy
Yes,
to say
ma'am.
we did survive, and we are not in a crisis mode right now.
Yes, ma'am. That's great. Like, ma'am, one thing I want to ask you about, like your experience. I have learned a thing about you that you have experience of 30 years. So, what would you like suggest us from your learning experience? What would you like to give us regarding your experience that you have experienced such things which we'll be experiencing in maybe our next 30 years? So, if I'll ask you in a short that if you want to suggest this thing that I have a 30-year experience and you are going to experience it in your next 30 years, so what would you like to suggest us?
See, one thing I would like to tell you is that things are never as bad as they look. So, sometimes we are at our lowest phase
Yes, ma'am.
and everything looks to be so bad, but things are never as bad as they look, and things always improve, you know, and do whatever you're doing. That, low times are not there always. So, that is something that will always give you hope and motivation to keep moving forward. The other thing is, India, I think, is in such a beautiful time right now where everybody is talking enterprise, where, youngsters are so smart, they're so clear on what they want to do. Many of them have such beautiful ideas of change. So I would say that, you should not fear going in that direction. You have the whole social media, the internet to your side to make this
Yes.
difference. So I would say don't stop yourself from going on the enterprise or entrepreneurial journey. Today, the best institutes in India are giving you the best courses also, so that you can start your own enterprise. So I have always worked in this space. In Plus Trust, we promote enterprises. I was a part of Jagriti Yatra, the first yatra that happened, and there we were talking enterprise. My whole research was based on enterprise, and now I'm running an enterprise. So, for me, it is very dear because enterprise is the only way that you ensure that you're doing not just good for yourself, but you are doing good. You're able to, nurture so many other livelihoods. So I would say that, don't hesitate. If you ever get an opportunity, don't hesitate in taking up an entrepreneurial idea. Experiment, and it's okay to fail. Even if you fail, you will learn so much that this next
Yes.
time when you try, you will definitely do better. So, that will
Okay.
be my
So, ma'am,
advice,
like
that be
there are
courageous, don't
people.
fear from experimenting.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. This is such a wonderful advice you gave to us. Like, ma'am, there are people in our class also, like in our batch also, who wants to take the social entrepreneur as a career. So, what would you like to say on this thing also? Like, social entrepreneurship taking as a career.
See, enterprise becomes a career, but it is not like a job that, okay, July 1st, I start my job and July 1st, I start my enterprise. It never happens like that. If enterprise has to happen, it will just happen. There will come a time when you will realize you want to do this and you will just start doing it. So I would say don't limit yourself to anything. If you are getting a great job opportunity, then take it, you will learn there. If you are getting an opportunity to collaborate with someone and start an enterprise or work on a new idea that you have, then do it. You will learn from it. So I would say that listen to your inner voice, and then follow what you feel like doing. Don't fear from it. Life is long. You have time to experiment, to fail, to learn, to succeed. So don't be in a hurry.
Yes, but like in our generation, if we talk about our generation right now, we all are in hurry. We want a job as hurry as we can, as fast as we can. We want to be successful as fast as we can, and it feels like that we are running out of time. We are 22 years now. We are 23 years now. We are running out of time. We need something in our life, so we feel like it's always in a hurry.
No, good to be in a hurry to succeed. But what I'm saying is don't be in a hurry to just finish off things, Be in a hurry to
Yeah,
learn,
yes.
and that learning can come in different ways, in different forms. So, just be ready for it. Like I always say, don't take up a job that will just put you on a desk where you're only writing and not interacting with real communities. If you are talking about communities and if you don't work with them directly, you will never have an in depth insight into what you're writing. And if you go to the field and work with communities, and then if you write something, you will see that the flavor is very different. Your thoughts are more organized, and you know what you want to write. So my advice will really be that go into the fields, dirty your hands, stay with the communities, and you will learn so much from there, that it will be richer than any other course that you do. So, keep your learning always on. Even today, we might think that one has worked so much on the field, but even today, every time I go into the field, I learn something new. You know, so
Yes,
and
yes,
that is
ma'am.
what motivates me, just to go and interact with my artisans. There's so much to learn. So keep that learning window always open.
Okay, okay, we will. Ma'am, as you mentioned, motivating yourself also. So I would like to ask one thing, like how you keep yourself motivated and how you motivate the persons who are working under you. Because like there are times in our enterprises, there are times where people are not motivated. We see that this person or this guy or they that are not that much motivated as they were earlier. They used to work very good. Their potential was very good, and now they are not doing at their potential. So what you do to motivate yourself, or what strategies you
Yeah.
apply in your life to motivate yourself?
See, one is I always believe in positive feedback. I think when you give your team positive feedback, or when you give them space to commit mistakes and improve, then they have a long lasting impact on them, and they feel ownership. So I really believe in my team. I take their advice on multiple issues. I don't just run a pen anywhere and start making rules. So I take a lot of advice from my team because I truly want to believe that their experience in doing a particular job is much richer than mine. Each of us
Yes.
does a specific job and builds an expertise in it. So for me, I always take advice of my team when I want to believe that I keep telling myself that, everybody makes mistakes, wants to improve, and everybody in general wants to do good, you know. And you have to look at them as humans. They will not have the same motivation levels every day. They have families, they have issues in their families. Some days are going to be good for them, some days are going to be bad for them. So, you just be more human,
Yes.
in the way you treat your staff and collectively take decisions. So these are two things that I try and practice in everything that I do. And there are times when we are also very worried because it is a high responsibility position. So how do you keep yourself motivated? I think when in doubt, I always go down to my artisans, and just discuss with them. And I think they come up with brilliant solutions sometimes. So that motivates me, and that motivates me to come back and give it my best again. So
Oh,
people whom you are working for, just go back to them when in doubt, or when you are demotivated yourself, and you'll come back all energized and charged up. So that is what I've
yes.
experienced, and that is what I'll tell you.
So, ma'am, like one last question. Like I have taken already lots of your time. So I asked to you one thing, that what would you like to pass on the future generation? Anything, ma'am, you would like to pass?
Oh, what would I like to pass on to the future generation? I would like to pass
Yes.
on a lot of laughter and joy, to the future
Yes.
generation. And I would just want them to be sensitive, very sensitive, because as we are growing as a country, as individuals, there are so many others who are not growing at the same pace, and each
Yes,
one
ma'am.
has their strengths and their weaknesses. So I think if we can raise children, if we can raise youngsters to be more sensitive and accepting, then I think we will be a beautiful nation, and nothing can stop us from growing. So yeah, that is
Yes.
what I would want to pass to the future generation: laughter, joy, and sensitivity.
Thank you, man. Like talking with you was really, really great experience. You like there are people in our lives who make us laughter even while we talk with them. So you are one of them. You make us felt very comfortable, ma'am, while having this conversation and having this interview. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would
I
like to
felt very nice
present a
talking to you both.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to present a token of appreciation, ma'am. We have created it for you. Just a second, ma'am. Let me present my screen. I'll share it on WhatsApp also, ma'am, with you.
Okay.
My screen is visible.
Yes,
Yeah.
Siddharth, it is.
Just a second. So, ma'am, here it is.
Oh,
I'll
lovely.
just take the.
Matri, please take the screenshot now.
Yeah, yeah, it's done. I've already taken the screenshot.
Okay. Take one screenshot of our three only. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that also I've taken, Siddharth.
Okay. Okay. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for giving your
Lovely
time
talking to
and
all of you. And we would, if you ever feel like coming to Sadhana for a visit, then you're more than welcome.
yes, ma'am.
No
Sure, ma'am.
expiry date on that invitation. Okay.
Sure, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am. Sure,
We'll
ma'am.
love to visit.
We'll whenever we'll
Yeah.
get the chance. Thank you so much for ma'am, inviting us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely talking to you both. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Okay,
you,
I'll
ma'am.
stop the
Thank
recording
you.
once.
Bye.
Oh,